I never thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am, sitting in my apartment, stomach twisted tight, replaying that night over and over. It started off as a celebration, our engagement party. Friends, family, laughter filling the air, glasses clinking, and nothing felt off. Hell, I'd never been happier, or so I thought. My fiancée, Lisa, looked radiant in her dress, her eyes shining with excitement. She was the center of attention, and I couldn't keep my grin from stretching across my face. We'd been planning this for months, and finally it was real. Everything was perfect until it was. She had been acting a little strange that evening, but I chalked it up to nerves. She insisted she was feeling under the weather, that she had a headache and needed to lie down early. I told her to rest, that I'd handle the last guests. It seemed harmless at the time. But I noticed her look at her phone a lot more than usual, and she kept excusing herself to the bathroom, which I now realize was a bad sign. Later that night, after most people had left, I was cleaning up in the kitchen when I saw her phone buzzing on the counter. I almost ignored it, but something about the tone made me pause. I picked it up, expecting maybe a text from a friend or a family member. Instead, I saw a message from someone named Mike, a coworker I vaguely knew from her office. The message made my stomach drop. It wasn't just a friendly thanks for a great night kind of thing. It was flirty, playful, even suggestive. I remember reading it twice, my fingers trembling. "Can't wait to see you again," it said. My heart hammered in my chest. My mind spun with questions I didn't want to face. Does she really feel this way? Is this what I thought it was? I looked around, feeling like a thief in my own home. My eyes caught a pair of shoes by the door, her heels, my favorite ones, and just a few feet away, her purse on the counter. Then I saw her jacket draped over a chair, the fabric still damp from her earlier, sick excuse. Nothing seemed out of place, until I saw her phone slip from her hand as she approached me the next morning, claiming she'd just been feeling unwell. I was exhausted, but I kept a close eye. That night I waited until she was finally asleep, then tiptoed to her side of the bed. I grabbed her phone, my palms sweaty, and started scrolling through her messages. Every nerve in my body was on fire. There were dozens of texts, some playful, some downright inappropriate. I found pictures too, suggestive, intimate. It was like someone had taken a scalpel and carved out my trust piece by piece. I sat there in the dark, heart pounding so loud I thought it might burst. I kept thinking, how could she do this? How could she sit there and lie to my face? I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was staring right at me. I knew she'd lied about being sick. I knew she'd gone out with Mike that night, not to rest, but to cheat. That moment was like a punch to the gut. It cut through my chest so sharply I thought I'd be sick. I clenched my fists around her phone so tight my knuckles turned white. I felt rage boiling, hot and heavy in my stomach. How do you respond to knowing you've been betrayed? I didn't have an answer then, just a sinking feeling that nothing would ever be the same. The next morning she woke up, looking confused when I handed her her phone. Her face paled when she saw the screen. I don't remember what I said at first, probably something cold, angry, I'm sure. But the look in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't just a misunderstanding or a bad night. It was proof she'd been unfaithful, and I was done pretending everything was okay. I didn't say much then, just watched her go pale and stumble over her words. She tried to lie, of course, blamed it on the stress, the alcohol, the stupid joke she didn't mean to take too far. But I wasn't buying any of it. I'd seen enough. That's when I started planning my next move. I knew I couldn't stay silent. I knew I had to do something, something that would hit her where it hurt, without resorting to violence or destruction. I just needed to figure out what that was. And I knew deep down that I wasn't going to let her off the hook that easy. That's where I am now, sitting here, replaying everything, trying to get my head straight. I don't trust her anymore. I don't think I ever will. And I know I need to act, but I'm still figuring out exactly how. After I found the messages, I didn't sleep that night. My head was spinning, a whirlwind of anger, betrayal, and a sick sense of clarity. I kept rereading those texts on her phone, trying to find a way to make sense of it all. How could she lie so easily? How could someone I trusted so completely turn out to be just another cheat? I remember sitting in the dark, the glow of her phone screen casting a sickly light on my face. My palms were slick with sweat, and my stomach was twisting itself into knots. Every time I thought about her being with Mike, a wave of nausea hit me. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest, a dull ache that wouldn't go away. It was like my entire world had tilted on its axis, and I was just watching everything fall apart. I knew I couldn't confront her that night. Not yet. I needed a plan, something calculated, something that would hit her where it hurt without making this a scene. Because I knew if I just yelled or accused her outright, I'd lose control. And I needed control. The next morning, I woke up with a clear purpose. I was going to make her pay for this. I spent the day gathering evidence, going through her emails, her social media, even her work messages. I needed more than just her texts. I wanted everything. I wanted her to see I wasn't some fool who was going to get blindsided and accept it. When she woke up, she looked at me with those guilty eyes, trying to act innocent. She kept saying she was sick, that she didn't mean for anything to happen. I let her talk, but my mind was racing. I kept thinking, you lied about being sick. You went out with him. You cheated on me when I was planning to spend my life with you. I felt ice crawling up my spine. I finally told her. I saw the messages. I know everything. Her face drained of color. She stammered, tried to deny it, but her eyes betrayed her. The guilt was written all over her face. I guess she thought she could keep everything hidden, pretend it was just a mistake. But I wasn't about to let her. That's when I decided I needed to do something more than just break up. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she did. Not just regret, real, raw consequences. I knew I had to set a trap, a way to make her hurt the way I was hurting. I needed a revenge plan that would teach her a lesson she wouldn't forget. I started by planting a few false clues. I made sure she saw some of the evidence I had collected, screenshots, the photos she'd sent, the times she'd checked her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I wanted her to realize I knew everything, to strip away her sense of control. Then I thought about her coworker, Mike. That part was simple enough. I already knew about their secret meetings. I decided to make sure she saw I was aware of the entire affair, but I also had a different plan. Brewing, I wasn't just going to call her out and leave it at that. No, I wanted to make her sweat. I wanted her to feel vulnerable, exposed, just like I felt. That's when I started drafting my revenge. I was going to do more than just call her out. I'd send her a message, a fake one from Mike, something suggestive, something that hinted he was still interested. I wanted her to think I was onto her, that I was planning something. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about making her realize she crossed a line she couldn't walk back from. I also bought a new phone, one she wouldn't recognize, and started texting her from it. I sent her a few carefully crafted messages, making it look like Mike was still interested, still pursuing her. I knew she'd panic, and that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences, that her lies were nothing but a house of cards waiting to fall. While all this was happening, I kept a close eye on her reactions. I wanted her to feel the pressure, the fear of losing everything she thought she had. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a direct confrontation yet. I was going to let her stew, let her think she was losing control. At the same time, I kept my distance. I didn't want her to think I was completely broken, just angry enough to strike back. I needed her to believe I was vulnerable but also dangerous. That way, when I finally made my move, it would hit her harder. And believe me, I planned to make damn sure it did. Every step I took was calculated. I knew exactly what I wanted to achieve, to make her feel as betrayed, humiliated, and powerless as I did. And when the moment was right, I'd confront her and make sure she understood that her betrayal had consequences she wouldn't forget. I kept my plan in motion for days, watching her reaction like a hawk. Every glance she threw my way, every time she touched her phone, I was reading her like a book. The more she tried to pretend everything was fine, the more I knew she was unraveling. That fake game of cool and collected, it was cracking, and I was right there watching it fall apart. One afternoon, I made a point of bringing up Mike casually, acting like I didn't know what I was doing. "Hey, Lisa," I said, leaning against the doorframe of the living room, voice even but icy. "How long have you been working with Mike?" She looked surprised, then quickly recovered. "A few months." "Why?" "Just curious," I said, shrugging. "He seems to be around a lot lately." Her eyes flicked nervously to her phone on the table. He's just a coworker. Nothing more. I smiled tight. Really, because I saw the messages, I saw the photos. Looks like you two have been pretty close. Her face went pale. She stumbled for words, but I kept going. You know, I thought I knew you. I thought we were building something real. Guess I was wrong. She burst out, it's not what it looks like. You're overthinking it. I was just sick, remember? All that stuff is nothing. I shook my head. No, Lisa, it's everything I suspected. And I want you to know I've been watching you. I've been gathering everything. And this, I pulled out. A flash drive is just the start. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't. Oh, I would, I said, voice low and dangerous. Because I don't play games. You want to lie, fine, but I'm done pretending. You've made your choice. She looked like she wanted to say something, but I cut her off. Don't bother, I already know what you're capable of, and I promise this isn't the end. You want to keep going with your little affair. We'll see how that works out for you. I could see her struggling, trying to keep her composure. She was cornered now, and I was making sure she knew it. The feeling of holding all the cards was intoxicating. I'd set the trap, and she was the one caught in it. Later that night, I arranged the final piece. I sent Mike a message from the fake number I'd set up, pretending to be interested in meeting him again, for fun. I knew Lisa would see it. I wanted her to realize that I wasn't just angry, I was in control now. I left the messages lingering, watching her react. Her eyes darted between her phone and me like she was trying to decide whether to lie or to face what was happening. Her hands trembled slightly as she finally picked up her phone and started typing. That was the moment. I knew she was on edge. I wanted her to feel the same helplessness I'd been carrying all along. It wasn't about revenge just yet. It was about making her see what she'd lost, the trust, the future, everything. And then, just as she appeared to be calming down, I made my move. I told her, you better be honest with me now. I want the truth. Did you sleep with him? Did you lie about being sick? She hesitated, then whispered, yes, I did. That's when everything changed. Her voice was weak, defeated, and I felt the cold rush of satisfaction mixed with the bitter taste of betrayal. I knew I was about to do something drastic, but it was the only way to make her understand the depth of my fury. I stared her straight in the eyes. You've been lying from the start, I said. And I'm not going to sit around and pretend this didn't happen. We're done. I'm done. I told her to pack her things. I handed her the keys to her apartment and told her to leave. No more excuses, no more lies. She looked at me, tears brimming, but I didn't flinch. I was finally free from the illusion that everything was okay. As she gathered her things, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I'd taken control back, but at what cost? Still, I knew I'd made the right choice. She had betrayed me, broken my trust, and I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. Walking her to the door, I said, if you ever try to come back, don't bother. You lost me the moment you lied. And as she stepped out into the night, I watched her go, feeling a strange sense of closure. The betrayal was a heavy scar, but at least now I knew the truth. No more pretending, no more lies. The next step, I'm not sure. But one thing for sure, I'll never be that naive again. That night taught me a hard lesson. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. But I can rebuild, and I will. The house felt eerily silent after she left. The silence was deafening in a way I'd never experienced before. My hands were still trembling slightly from the adrenaline rush, but I forced myself to breathe slowly. Sitting there in the dim glow of the living room, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and victorious clarity. I'd done it. I'd finally taken control of the chaos she had brought into my life. But even as I sat there, a cold voice inside whispered that this wasn't over. Not really. Betrayal like hers leaves scars that don't fade just because you kick someone out. I knew I had to reinforce my resolve, to make sure she understood this wasn't just a breakup, it was a reckoning. In the days that followed, I kept my eyes peeled. I knew she'd try to contact me, maybe even come back, desperate to explain, to apologize, or worse, to manipulate her way back in. I wasn't giving her that chance. I'd learned my lesson the hard way. Trust doesn't come cheap, and once it's gone for good. I decided to take some time for myself, to clear my head and think about what was next. I also wanted to make sure she didn't have any leverage. So I went through her social media accounts, downloaded all the messages and photographs she'd shared, and backed everything up on a secure drive. I needed proof. in case she tried to twist things around or deny everything. One evening, I sat down with a glass of whiskey, the cold burn of it matching the ache in my chest. That's when I started drafting my final move, something that would really make her understand the extent of what she'd lost. I wasn't just going to cut her loose. I wanted her to feel the sting of betrayal intensely, to see that her lies had consequences far beyond my initial anger. I reached out to a private investigator I looked into. I figured, if I was going to make her pay, I might as well have some concrete evidence of her going out with Mike after she told me she was sick. The pie was discreet, exactly what I needed, and within a couple of days I had photos of her leaving her apartment late at night, slipping into a car with Mike. Seeing her like that, with her hair messy from sleep-in, her face flushed from some night's fun, made my stomach turn again. But I forced myself to stay calm. I didn't want to lose focus. This was about her, not about my own feelings of disgust. I had to hold on to the bigger picture, making her understand she'd crossed a line she couldn't erase. Next, I crafted a message, straightforward, cold, and to the point. I sent it to her email and her phone, making sure she got it at the same time. It read, "I know everything. The photos don't lie. You chose to betray me, and I won't forget. You can keep pretending you're innocent, but I've seen enough. Whatever reason you had, whatever lies you tell yourself, it's over. Don't try to contact me again. You've burned that bridge." I watched her reaction from a distance. No reply came immediately, but I knew she'd seen it. That's what mattered. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, that she was no longer in control, that her lies and manipulations had finally caught up with her. I also made arrangements to transfer all joint accounts and close the shared apartment. I didn't want her to have any more hold over me or my life. I didn't want her to think she could come back and pick up where she left off. No, this was final. I was serious about moving on, about rebuilding without her. In the days that followed, I noticed her trying to reach out, texts, voicemails I ignored, even a few knockings at my door. I didn't respond. I wanted her to understand that her betrayal was the end of us, not just a rough patch. The only communication I allowed was a final notice. I handed her the keys to her apartment and told her to leave my life for good. When she finally realized I wasn't giving her a second chance, she stopped trying. Silence settled in, heavy but necessary. I knew I had to start healing, but part of me still felt hollow. Betrayal leaves a mark that doesn't disappear overnight. Still, I felt a strange sense of relief, knowing I'd taken back some control. Now I sit alone in my apartment, looking at the empty space where she used to be. I reflect on what's happened, the lessons learned, and the trust broken. It's clear to me now. Trust is fragile, and once shattered, rebuilding takes time if it's possible at all. But for now, I'm choosing to focus on myself. Because the best revenge, it's living well even after being betrayed. And honestly, I'm not sure she ever deserved to see me truly happy again. But I do know this: I won't be a fool twice. I'll take my lessons, guard my heart, and move forward, better and wiser than before. The silence has become a strange kind of peace. I used to think about her constantly, replaying every moment we shared, every lie she told. Now it's different. I've managed to push most of it away, but sometimes, late at night, I still catch myself staring at my phone, wondering if she's going to try again, if she's going to reach out and try to fix what she broke. I know better now. Trust isn't something you mend easily once it's shattered, and she proved she wasn't worth my patience. The hardest part of all this has been dealing with the fallout, knowing I've lost something I thought was forever. I used to picture us growing old together, sharing everything, building a future. Now I see her as a stranger, someone I once loved but who betrayed me in the worst way. I don't miss her the way I used to, but I do feel the ache of betrayal, like a wound that's trying to heal but still bleeds beneath the surface. I've started focusing on myself, trying to rebuild what I lost. I got back into work, pushed myself into new hobbies, and even started working out again. Physical activity helps. I can feel the sweat and effort pushing the numbness out of my head. I don't want to be that guy who gets played and then just falls apart. I want to come out of this stronger, smarter. Sometimes I reflect on what I could have done differently. Maybe I was too trusting, too quick to believe in the best of people, or maybe I was just blind. Either way, I realize now that I need to set boundaries not just with her but with everyone. Trust has to be earned, not given away for free. I won't be naive again. One thing I do remember vividly is that moment I handed her the keys and told her to leave. The look in her eyes, shocked, defeated, almost, made me feel guilty, but I pushed that feeling aside. She chose to betray me. That was her decision, not mine. My job now was to walk away, to cut the cord, and to never let her see me weak again. In the weeks that followed, I cleaned out her side of the apartment, took down the photos of us, and removed everything that reminded me of her. I replaced the pictures with new ones of my dog, of my friends, of places I wanted to visit. Small things, but they helped me feel like I was reclaiming my space, my life. I also started seeing a therapist. Not because I was weak, far from it, but because I needed someone to talk to who wouldn't judge me or try to tell me what to do. It's surprising how much a good conversation can do for your head, especially after betrayal like this. It's helped me process my feelings, understand that I'm not guilty for trusting her, and that I deserve better. Most importantly, I've realized that revenge, while tempting, wasn't really what I needed. My real victory was walking away with my dignity intact. I'm not bitter, just wiser, and I refuse to let this define me. I want to be open again someday, but not blindly. Not until I can trust myself to spot the red flags early. Looking back, I see how the pieces come together. Her lies, her deception, they were a warning. I just ignored the signs because I wanted to believe in us too much. Now I know that real trust isn't given away, it's earned carefully and slowly. So what's next? Honestly, I don't have a perfect plan. I don't think I need one. I just know I'll keep moving forward one day at a time. I'll keep working on myself, stay cautious but open, and remember that I don't owe anyone my peace. The betrayal hurt, but it also taught me how to protect myself better. And that, I think, is the real lesson. Trust is fragile, but resilience is stronger. I've lost her, yes, but I've gained something more, an awareness I never had before. And that's worth more than any apology or excuse she might have offered. I'll be okay. Better in time. Because sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away, hand in hand with your own strength. Would you like me to write the final part now? Today, I finally took the last step in closing that chapter of my life. I got a box, filled it with all the remaining things that reminded me of her, little gifts, her favorite book, stuff I'd kept just because. I sat in my car, looking at the house she once called ours, feeling a strange mixture of relief and finality. My hands trembled slightly as I grasped the box, my stomach twisting with a mixture of anger and exhaustion. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, reclaiming my dignity. I drove to her parents' house, a place I knew she'd go if she was trying to hide or run away. I parked outside, took a deep breath, and knocked. When her father opened the door, I handed him the box. "She's not coming back," I said plainly, voice steady but cold. "This is everything she left behind. I'm done. I just wanted her to have her stuff. I hope she finds what she's looking for." He looked at me, surprised, then nodded slowly. "She's made her choices. I'm sorry," he said softly. I didn't say much. I just turned around and walked away. As I did, I felt a weight lift off my chest. In that moment, I knew I had finally freed myself from the chain of betrayal and lies. I had taken control back, not just over my possessions, but over my future. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret standing up for myself or confronting her with everything I found. The truth was brutal but necessary. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. I learned that the hard way. Now I focus on moving forward, one day at a time, one step closer to healing. Looking back, I realized that the best revenge wasn't revenge at all. It was walking away with my head held high, knowing I hadn't let her define me. I refused to be a victim of her lies. I chose my dignity. I chose myself. To anyone in a similar situation, trust your instincts. When red flags appear, don't ignore them. Be brave enough to see the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Because the moment you confront what's real, you take back the power you thought you lost. And that's the greatest victory of all. So now I start fresh. Not with anger or bitterness, but with clarity. I know what I deserve, and I won't settle for less. Life will throw its curveballs, but I'll face them head-on, stronger than I ever thought I could be. And as I walk away from her house for the last time, I feel a quiet confidence settle in. The pain will fade, eventually, and I'll rebuild what's broken. Because the truth is, no betrayal can keep me down forever. Not when I've finally learned how to stand on my own.